again, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. I hope that you've been doing well. And today I just want to show you a very easy and very beginner friendly tutorial, and this is how to make this apron. I'm sure you've seen it in the thumbnail. So the things that we'll be needing, we need our fabric. This is our main fabric that we'll be needing. It's only about a meter of this, or about a yard. This is chitenge fabric or Ankara. And then you also need a lining, because we're going to be lining it. So I have a plain orange fabric here. This is a cotton fabric. It's actually polycotton. And then these are the straps. I'll be taking you through how I cut this and the measurements that you'll be needing to take for this project. I have a small piece here for a pocket, because I discovered my main fabric has got a problem. I'll show you that. You need your measuring tape, you need your ruler, and of course you need your pair of scissors and your chalk. Okay, so let's get started. Okay, so let's get into the tutorial. Like I said, it's a very easy tutorial. Just wanted to show you how to make your own aprons. You can make these as gifts for your loved ones and offer them. You can sell them and you can teach others. So this is the fabric that I'll be working with. It's about a yard or a meter. It should be enough. Okay, so what you need to know, to calculate in order to, when you're cutting it, how do you know how much fabric you should cut on fold? I added some extra just in case of some mishaps. Okay, so what you need, you actually need the length of your apron. Okay, I'm just trying to, yeah, so you need the length of your apron. The standard apron should be between 30 and 35, but you can make it shorter depending on what you want, okay, for yourself. So as you can see, mine is, I've cut mine at 30 inches. So this also includes the folding allowances or sewing allowances, because I'm not very tall. So for someone who is taller, or if you want it to be longer, you can certainly make it longer. I'm cutting mine at 30, this is 30 inches. Okay, so that is for the length. For the width, what you need your hip circumference measurement. Okay, hip circumference measurement, and you divide that by 2. Okay, mine is 43 inches, and 43 divided by 2, because this is going to cover the front part. So you're not dividing by 4, but instead you're going to divide by 2. So hip circumference divided by 2. Mine is 43 inches, so divided by 2, it gives me 21.5. To that measurement, you're going to add 4 to 5 inches. Because I want to cover my hips more, I'm going to add 5 inches. If you want, you can add 4, you can add 3, depending on how you want it to fit. So if I add 5 inches, it gives me about 26 inches. So the total of your width, in this case, if you're going to use the exact measurement, you are going to be using 26 inches. So because we have put this, we have folded it, we folded the fabric, you can see, I just folded it once. So that 26.5, you divide it by 2. So it should be measuring about 13.2, or just 13 inches. We can approximate to 13 inches. Okay, so you just measure 13 inches all through, and you're going to rule that all the way down. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat how I calculated my width. So it's the hip measurement divided by 2, and then you add 4 to 5 inches. If you're on the bigger side, you can even add up to 6 inches. Okay, so that your apron will wrap around nicely. Okay, I've used 5 inches. So it's your hip measurement your hip circumference, that is divided by 2, plus 4 or 5 inches. If you're on the bigger side, you can add 6 inches. Okay, and then when you get that, if you are cutting your fabric, when it's unfold, divide it into 2 again, so that you can measure that. Okay, so my 43, which is the hip circumference, divided by 2 plus 5 inches, and then I divide that by 2 again, it gives me 13.2, or I just approximated it to 13 inches. So that's how I decided, or that's how I came up with that 13 inches. Okay, I'm just going to chop off this excess that I won't be needing. Okay, so don't get confused, it's very easy. Your hip measurement, your hip circumference, that is divided by 2, add your extra inches, 4 to 5 inches, and then once you get that figure, divide it again by 2, and then you cut your fabric, unfold. Okay, so it's easier that way than if you want to spread it and then you take your measurement and then cut it, but it depends on what works for you. Okay, so we have our length. Like I said, I'm cutting mine at 30 inches. You can cut yours anywhere between 30 to 34, or you can make it shorter, and then we're using a width of 13 inches. Okay, and then once you've done that, okay, you're going to measure 22. Okay, so let me say I'll use 20 inches here, or I can even still use 22 inches, it's fine. Okay, can use 22 inches going up. Okay, so from down you measure 22 inches. You can see this is where my 22 inches will be. So I mark there 22 inches from the down part, and then from the center front, this is your center front where you have the fold here. This is your center front. So you're going to measure 6 inches. Okay, 6 inches, like that. I don't know if you can see this. Let me see if I can find a different color so that you can see. Okay, and this was our 22-inch mark from down. Okay, if you want to measure from the top, if you want to get this and you're measuring from the top, it should be, normally it should be about 12 inches. So if that means you are cutting your apron longer than 30 inches. Okay, so but the way I've done it, you just measure 22 inches up, and then you measure 6 inches here. Okay, and the next thing is just to connect this point to that point. Okay, if you want, you can draw this as a straight line or a slanted line, but I just want it to have a curve. I hope you can see this chop better. Okay, so this is where your chest will be, this part there. Okay, and also here at the bottom, if you want, you can come up a few inches. If you want it to be kind of circular, you could come up, let's say 3 inches, let's say 3.5 or 4 inches, and then you can just curve it. Okay, it can just curve from that mark this way, so that it gives you that kind of slanted shape at the bottom, and then you would be cutting there. But I want mine to be kind of a rectangular or square, so I'll leave it as it is, and I'm going to cut this part off. Okay, okay, so this is where the arm would be, and this is what we have. I'm going to use this piece to cut the lining. Okay, and then I'll show you how it will look like. So I'm going to repeat how I got here. The fabric was unfold and we measured our length. I'm using 30 inches, okay? The width is 13. How did we get our width? We divide our hip circumference by 2, and then to that you add some extra 4 to 5 inches. When you get that figure divided by 2, because this is on fold, and then you measure that out on your fabric. So from the bottom, especially if the length of your apron is going to be more than 30 inches long, so let's say you are using 34 or 35, you'll be measuring 22 inches from the bottom of your apron. You come up 22 inches, okay, so that you can get this arm, I'll call it the armhole, okay? So you measure that 22 inches from down there, and then you come to the center front on the top or at the top of your piece of fabric. You measure 6 inches, okay? You can see I measured about 6 inches here. Hope you can pick that, okay? So you measure 6 inches, and at that point you connect it to that 22-inch point, and then you are going to have this shape, okay? And basically your apron would be ready, especially if you're not lining it. The only thing you need to do is to add your strap for the neck, and then your tie backs, okay, or your straps for the back, and then you just finish off the edges, okay, that need to be finished off, okay? So I'm going to use the same piece that we've already cut to cut the lining, and then here I wanted to show you that I'd already cut my straps, okay? So I have 3 straps here. I have 2 straps that are, these are 25 inches long, okay? They're 25 inches long. I put them on fold, so rather they are 30 inches long. You can see it's 15. So since it's on fold, they are 30 inches long. You can make them as long as you want. This is to tie your apron at the back, okay? So these are 30, and they are about 2.5 inches wide. We're going to be folding this way when we are about to stitch, okay? So you fold them like this, you fold them again, and then you just stitch there to make the straps, okay? And then I have one for the neck. You can cut yours at 24 inches, 24 to 25, especially if you're a tall person. I'm shorter. I'm a short person rather. So I cut mine at, let's check this. Mine is 23.5. Okay, so that is inclusive of the sewing allowance. Remember, this is not going to be adjustable. So I tried it over my neck like this, just to see where I wanted it. So mine, the 23 inches is fine. 1 inch is for attaching it to the apron. Okay. So now here, after I'd already cut this fabric on the right side, just in the front, I discovered that my fabric has got this ugly stain. And it's right in the center, and you see it's somewhere where we don't have this pattern, so it will be quite noticeable. So I decided that I was going to cover that with a pocket. So I looked for something contrasting or something, yeah, you know. So the pocket is going to be on the upper side, so that I can just hide that part, that ugly part. So if you want to add pockets to your apron, you can go ahead and add an apron. They really look nice when you add a pocket with a contrasting fabric and a contrasting color. So you can add a smaller pocket. This is going to be a smaller pocket at the upper part, and then you can cut another piece of fabric, a bigger piece that you can add to the bottom part, or you can just add one at the bottom side. So it depends. I really didn't want to add a pocket here because I like this print, and I think a pocket will just hide this beautiful print. But depending on the fabric and the prints that you have on your fabric, you can decide whether to add your fabric or not. Okay, so I'm just going to put this on forward, and then I'm going to go and cut the lining, and then I'll show you before I start the sewing. Okay. Okay, so here I decided to show you how I was cutting the lining, because there might be beginners who might not understand if I say I'm going to go cut the fabric and then I'll show you what it looks like. So I just decided, let me show you how I'm cutting it. So what I've done is I've just placed our apron, the one that we've already cut on fabric, and then I've placed it on top of the lining like this. Okay, so just make sure that the main fabric aligns. This edge should align with your lining under there. Okay, so you can see that I'm cutting the lining shorter than the main fabric. So here we have about 2.5 inches. Okay, so it's going to be shorter by 2.5 inches. Okay, why am I doing that? Because if you've noticed, usually when you cut your lining the same length as your main fabric, even in your clothes or in your other garments, the lining tends to how can I say, push outwards. You can see the lining because it kind of pulls, and you can see it folding out of your main fabric. So to avoid that, I've decided to cut the lining shorter by 2.5 inches. You can cut it shorter by 1 inch, ½ inch, whatever you decide, as long as it's not the same length with your main fabric. Okay, unless you want to stitch or to sew a reversible apron, which is not what we are doing. So I just thought, let me show you how to do this. Okay, so there we go. I think now we have all our pieces that we need have been cut. So we have our main fabric, we have our lining, we have our straps. There is one for the neck, the shorter one. Okay, if you can cut yours the same length. So if, let's say, you are using 25, I think you can use between 24 and 25 for your neck strap, and you can also use the same length and same width for your belts. But I made my belts a little bit longer, so I cut them at 30 inches, and I cut this, I think, at 23 inches. Okay, because it's not going to be adjustable, so I wanted it to fit perfectly well. Okay, and then we have our pocket piece. So just going to put this away. So here, what I'm going to do now, I'm going to the machine. It's very easy. What I'm going to do is, actually, I'm going to start with this main piece, where I'm going to attach the pocket. So what I'm going to do here, because as you can see, this is a very lightweight fabric, it's a satin, so I'm going to iron interfacing on it first, and then I'm going to take in ½ inch at the bottom. Let me put it this way so that you can see what I'm going to do. I'm going to fold in ½ inch after I've ironed the interfacing, to make it a little bit you know, to give it structure, and then ½ inch, and then at the top I'm going to fold in 1 inch. So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and do a finishing. There you can use a zigzag. If you've got an overlocker, you can just overlock it, and then you fold in that way. Okay, so the total allowance I left here was 1 inch. So you can use maybe 0.25 inches to overlock or to finish it off if you're going to be using a zigzag stitch, or if you can manage to do a very small rolled hem, and then you do that, you fold it in and stitch there, and then you are going to just stitch this way to attach the pocket. After you've attached the pocket, then you are going to, so let's imagine this pocket is there. You are going to you're going to take your the apron, and you take your lining. Okay, so you're going to place these front or the right sides facing. Okay, it should be the right side of your main fabric facing the right side of your fabric, of your lining rather, and then you're going to place them that way. Before you stitch, you need to put in your strap. So this is the neck strap. You're going to fold it in halfway this way, and then you are going to fold it into half again and stitch there to create your strap. Okay, you're going to do the same for all the 3 straps, and then after that you're going to place this in between there, inside. You're going to place your strap inside this way. Okay, this way, and then that's when you're gonna stitch. You're going to do the same here. After you fold in this way, fold in this way, you can iron it to make it stay, and since this is Ankara, it will stay once you've ironed it. Fold it in again, stitch on top so that you have one long strip. This is about 30 inches. Okay, and then you're going to place it on the inside, in between your main lining and the fabric and the lining, the main fabric and the lining. Okay, you can put a pin there. You're going to do the same, and once you've done that, you're going to stitch around this way. Remember, this is longer, your main fabric is longer than the lining, so you just bring it there, and then you stitch all the way, you stitch, and here at the center you're going to leave about 2 to 3 inches opening so that you can flip everything outside, and then we're going to close that off after we've sewn around. So I'm going to start by attaching the pocket. I'm going first of all to iron this with interfacing to give it structure so that I can hide this stain there, and then I'm going to sew those straps, and then before I place this to take it to the machine, I'll come back and show you before we can flip everything to the right side.